Hi guys, my name's Claire. My presentation is on adapting general education curriculum in social studies to teach students with severe disabilities. My presentation starts out at the beginning talking about more in general how to adapt curriculum to teach students with severe disabilities, and then it goes into more specifically ideas of social studies. So, in the past, through such legislation as No Child Left Behind, the American education system has focused more on language arts, math, and science. Social studies really hasn't gotten the attention that it might deserve, particularly when it comes to students with severe disabilities. It's been believed that that subject wasn't important, or that maybe students with severe disabilities couldn't really understand it, or it wouldn't benefit them. It's just now been in the past decade or so that teaching social studies subjects to all students, really, but especially to students with severe disabilities, has been considered. Because planning in this area is new, in order to come up with ideas for adequately teaching social studies to students with severe disabilities, researchers and teachers alike must rely on resources in school social studies education, research on teaching this content to students with high incidence disabilities, and successful strategies that have been observed in other schools. So why teach academics to students with severe disabilities? 4 reasons to teach academic content in general to students with severe disabilities. It can also apply particularly to social studies as well. 1, it promotes educational opportunities as a means of developing competent adults. 2, it responds to the rising educational expectations for students with severe disabilities. Increasingly, educators have realized that students with severe disabilities can do much more than what was once thought possible, and there's no way to know what they can do until they've been given a chance, until they've been given the content. 3, teaching academics promotes educational equality. Students without disabilities are not given trials to learn academics and then relegated to alternative content if they don't succeed. Number 4, teaching academics increases opportunities for self-determination. In social studies, a student may gain self-awareness about his or her cultural background, as well as gain respect for the cultures of others. They may also learn such things as self-advocacy skills for participating in government or just in life. There have been very few studies done on teaching social studies to students with severe disabilities. Given the lack of research, educators must adapt strategies from research done with students who have mild disabilities, and must also apply evidence-based practices that have been used in other subjects. Along with the push for teaching more academics to students with severe disabilities has been a push for inclusion for all students in the general education classroom. After all, IDEA requires that the maximum extent appropriate children with disabilities are educated with children who are not disabled, and that special classes, separate schooling, and other removal from the regular environment occurs only when the nature and severity of the disability is such that education in regular classes with the use of supplementary aids and services cannot be attained satisfactorily. For students with severe disabilities, this has usually meant increased inclusion in things like homeroom and non-academic subjects such as art, music, and physical education. However, a movement for instructional inclusion in academic subjects as well has come about, along with the demand that students with severe disabilities can and should be required to meet state content standards. This is done by using modified grade level skills and measuring with alternative assessments. Students with disabilities who are in a regular classroom setting must be given appropriate supports and services. This includes strategies that have been adapted to their needs. Some supplementary services sometimes used are modifications to the regular curriculum, computer-assisted services, having a note taker in the classroom, access to a resource room, or the assistance of a special education teacher who comes alongside the general education teacher. A special education teacher may come into the classroom and just help the general teacher, brainstorm and come up with ideas to how she best can modify the curriculum or do things to help the student learn, to help the student with their particular needs. Social interactions. A primary reason for including students with severe disabilities in the regular classroom is to increase their contact with a broader range of students. So instead of having students with severe disabilities being secluded and in a room by themselves all day, because learning and education is more than just books and meeting standards. Being in the general education classroom really helps them learn social skills and learn just to adapt in life by being around people that they would be around outside of the school. So social studies activities oftentimes provide excellent opportunities for social interaction between all members of the classroom. Many social studies curricula provide a good bit of opportunities for activity-centered or small group experiences that are appropriate for a wide range of students. And also having all students in the same classroom not only helps the students with severe disabilities, but also helps the students without disabilities learn how to accept those that are different and how to help them and befriend them. Constructive interactions in the context of a group experience reinforce the interaction skills of all students and develop an appreciation of differences among peers. Other positive results of having students with a varying range of attributes work together cooperatively include tolerance, better appreciation for what a person can do, and opportunities to perform services that help others. Planning for social studies. When planning a social studies activity, as in planning anything, a teacher must consider factors that could be a problem for students with disabilities. A teacher must also consider what all needs to be done to meet the personal needs of each student with a disability. This may require modifying the lesson to most fully benefit a student with special needs. A teacher must look at the individual student's abilities, characteristics, and the specifications written in his/her IEP in order to decide what, if any, changes need to be made to the lesson or activity planned. Adapting social studies material. Adapting social studies material for students with disabilities is accomplished through 6 general steps. 1. Identifying the learning needs and characteristics of the students. 2. Identifying the goals for instruction. 3. Comparing the learning needs and goals to the teaching materials to determine whether the content, instructional techniques, or setting require modification. 4. Determining specific modifications of the teaching materials. 5. Modifying the materials. And 6. Conducting ongoing evaluation as the materials are used. Classroom strategies. Classroom strategies in social studies for students with special needs. 1. Actively oriented instruction. 2. Instruction related to students' everyday experience. 3. Efficient classroom management, establishing ground rules and procedures for social studies activities. 4. Focus on skills development throughout social studies activities. And 5. Examination of textbooks for the impact they may have on students. So a lot of these strategies that I read about really include being active in social studies and not just focusing on maybe adapting the textbook or learning the facts, but doing things that really have the students relate to the content. So doing things that maybe helps them relate the content to their everyday life or their own experience. Also, doing things that are in small groups or involve the students talking to each other or doing activities together, so that they learn the content, but they also make a connection with each other and practice social skills, and just makes it in a way where they can relate to it. Strategies in teaching social studies. In selecting a strategy to teach social studies, teachers need to consider what they ultimately want to achieve. A teacher needs to consider what it is that students get out of social studies that will enhance their quality of life. So once again, it's not just about learning the facts of history or geography or government. Those things are important, but a teacher needs to consider their life skills and their social skills, and what it is that they can learn from social studies that will really help them with those things throughout life, and will help them be a responsible adult and be a person that can take care of themselves and stand up for themselves and know how to function in the world and how to socialize. One important skill that can come from learning social studies is learning what we call thinking skills. In order to teach thinking skills, a teacher needs to use a variety of activities, such as reading text or documents, analyzing decisions, classifying information, establishing cause and effect relationships, and evaluating sources for accuracy and bias. So teaching the students thinking skills as they read and as they learn through activities, to think through what they're learning and maybe come up with their own ideas or what they think it means, just to be able to just be able to take those things that they're learning and apply it to their lives. Thinking skills. It may be necessary to make the information given explicit, focusing on one skill at a time and guiding and supporting the skill practice. For example, for a student with severe disabilities, it may be best for the teacher to target one specific type of thinking skill. For example, cause and effect, at the beginning of the semester, and provide the opportunities for practice daily until the student masters the thinking skill. An example of this would be if a student were to practice the skill understanding cause and effect by completing or creating a cause and effect diagram on a regular basis of events that occurred in history. Access to social studies text. Although the overall goal of social studies is to get students to apply skills to think critically about the content, it is also important to convey knowledge of the content. For this to occur, students need to be able to use and understand the text. One idea to help students with severe disabilities is to use text as One idea to help students with severe disabilities to use text is to rewrite the text as an adapted text summary with picture symbols to support the main ideas and key vocabulary. So just going over the text and rewriting it in a way that just brings out the main ideas and makes it easier for them to understand and to get the main ideas, the main points of what they're learning, and also just to make it meaningful to them. Teaching the grammar of social studies. In addition to having a way to use the text, students need to learn the language of social studies. When this process is followed within the curricular area of English language arts, it is commonly called story grammar instruction. Story grammar instruction is defined as an attempt to construct a set of rules that can generate a structure for any story. Terms commonly used in story grammar are characters, setting, plot, resolution, and theme. Students who master the concept of story grammar have a strategy that can be applied to a wide range of text. So just understanding the rules of the rules in the different parts of a story or a text, understanding all that can help a student be able to more efficiently read anything and understand anything. And that's all I have. These are my references of where I got my information. Thank you.